Hello, everybody, and welcome into the Apples and Genos Fantasy Hockey Podcast. This is the second half of Week 18. My name is Brian, and I'm joined by Evan. We're going to be providing some of our insights into some of our past trades, a little something extra, and get some trade targets on some real trades submitted by you, the listeners. Here we go.
All right, man. Well, we're back. We're back post-Olympics, finally. Here we are. And, unfortunately, Ryan can't be with us today. He sends us his best. But it is unfortunate he's not here. Right, Brian?
It's convenient. I mean, I'll take the brunt of this discussion. I know where this is going, but, I was actually feeling a tickle myself. I was thinking about not showing up because I don't want to have this conversation, which is what we're about to have.
Yeah. So we'll get right into it. We're on, week 18, part 2 of Trade Talks, but obviously Nate and Blake have kind of gone over it a little bit post Olympics, but we have to talk about it, guys. And I'm sorry for our Canadian listeners. But as a US member here, the only US member of our pod, I have to take a little bit of a victory lap here. First time in 46 years, Brian. I have to take some solace in that. I don't think I've ever been more pumped up for a game. It was a really good game despite the low score. I think every shift mattered, every puck battle, every pass, every shot. So it was very eyes glued to the TV, very high energy, high level hockey. Obviously, I couldn't be more excited about it. Jack Hughes winning. It was kind of funny chaos in my house. When it happened, it's obviously early in the morning for me. And I'm screaming, at the top of my lungs. And my 2-year-old son is looking at me terrified, thinking I'm yelling at him or something. No, we just want gold. My dog's barking. It's kind of chaos. But yeah, I mean, just give me your thoughts briefly, Brian. I won't do you too bad here. If Ryan were here to defend himself too, maybe I would have done a little more, but I'll leave it at that for now.
Yeah, no, listen, you got to give the kudos to the States. US, they won gold medal. That's a huge accomplishment. I don't think anyone will argue, though, that hockey is still Canada's game. In a one-game winner takes all, anything can really happen. Connor Hellebuck played like the Connor Hellebuck we know he can, which we haven't seen in big game moments in the past. So really great to see that for him. But yeah, I'll stop myself from going on a tangent, but I know Nate McKinnon is kicking himself. Connor McDavid won't be happy. Cale Makar won't be we can go down the list here, but it's funny enough. I was watching the game with my brothers. And when the US scored the first goal, we were like, okay, it's Matt Boldy. The guy's got, he's got that dog in him, we're happy, but the rest of the game, I felt pretty calm, to be honest. I was like, Canada's going to tie this up. Canada seems like they're dominating here. Which they were. They had plenty of chances. And then in overtime, I was watching a breakdown of all the mistakes Canada made on the last shift. And it's yeah, you can't make that many mistakes. Someone's going to score. And of course, it's Werenski stepping up to win the puck battle off of Nate McKinnon, give it over to Jack Hughes, who's been facing a lot of criticism. So for Jack Hughes, for Austin Matthews, Quinn Hughes, I'm so happy for those guys. The U.S. had a great tournament, so you know what? I'll give you your flowers. Well deserved. Played a great series, but we'll see you in the World Cup.
Yeah, I'm not stupid. I'm not a I don't know if you've seen it. I haven't seen too many Americans getting into it with Canadians over it. Really, I've just seen each side have their own opinions, right? Mm-hmm. And I think as a sane American, I can say that obviously Canada had the better of the chances that game. It's all the whole if they played 10 times, Canada might win 8 or something like that. Yeah. Which is reasonable. I think going into the turn, into it, we all knew America's defense was better and mm-hmm. we'd give them goaltending. And it was, can our goaltending and defense hold up against the best line in the world, Celebrini, McDavid, McKinnon, and they did.
That was a crazy line. That was a fun line.
I mean, so many things in that game, though, man. The McKinnon wide open net. I mean, I feel bad for him there. Not that bad, but and Crosby being out, like there were so many storylines and, things that happened that made it go our way. But yeah, I'm really happy for Jack Hughes, man. He showed out when it mattered most. And, I give him credit. The 7 men on the ice, like, man, I was like freaking out when I saw that. Cause like, it was so obvious. And just like the refs are clearly too scared to call it because they don't want to like give the game away. And then again, Canada not scoring on the 5-on-3, the best power play legitimately ever assembled, so yeah, there's so many things, but yeah, I'm happy for him. And yeah, that picture of Jack Hughes, by the way, I'll get my shirt in 2 weeks.
It's so great
with that. That's an iconic photo for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think really moving forward for fantasy, the Olympics, I have a few things. One is obviously we have the major injuries, some of the big boys being Crosby, Rantanen, Josh Morrissey, Fiala. We knew the injuries were going to happen. How's this going to affect fantasy? And I'm really curious too, like, some of these guys, like moving forward, will it affect their mindset at all? Like rest of season? Like, do you think McDavid's going to be better? Like, because he's like pissed off because he lost? Like same thing with McKinnon. Like, I don't know.
You know what? It's funny you bring that up because I was thinking about that today. I think, unfortunately, McDavid has lost a lot and still been the best player. Like he's won. I don't know if you saw. It's like OHL. He lost the finals. He was the MVP. Stanley Cup final. He lost. He won. He was the MVP. The Olympics. He lost. He won the MVP. Mind you, Connor Hellebuck should have got that MVP. But that's another story. But I think McDavid will just be back to business, which is dominant. Where I think the fantasy value will actually be Nate McKinnon. I think he's going to be carrying the weight of missing that shot more than anyone else would carry on the chances they had. Like, there's no underlying metrics for me to like assume this, but like I just feel like it's Nate Dogg. Like he's going to take that personally, and he's going to be firing the puck left, right, and center. So I can really see that. Other guys like Jack Hughes, he hasn't been having a great season by any stretch of the imagination. And I think scoring that golden goal, like that one that cements him in U.S. history, like the legacy goal. And I think that's going to help his offense and his confidence the rest of the year. Like he's battling some injuries. And yeah, it'll be exciting to see where it goes. And I want to get your thoughts on that too. But before I do that, I wanted to say two things. Number one, Dave Portnoy drives me nuts. The guy's talking about how you guys took a hawk from Canada. Makes no sense. He knows nothing. I want to punch him right in the face. And the other thing is, think of the four nations. You guys didn't have Quinn Hughes. And then this one at the Olympics, we didn't have Morrissey, Crosby. So I think we actually have yet to have the best on best. So maybe the World Cup will all be healthy. So we'll see. Too many injuries at the Olympics, but we'll see what happens. How about you, Evan? Do you think any guys are going to start popping off fantasy rest of the season?
I think you nailed it. I also think Jack Hughes, I don't know if you saw, like, they play the Sabres today, and Jack Hughes kind of, like, gave a speech to the crowd, which I thought was interesting, but also really cool. He, like, called Tage Thompson onto the ice, and they kind of had a mini celebration, but he basically said, like, how proud he was to be a New Jersey Devil and represent New Jersey, and so right. I do really think this is going to help Jack Hughes. I think this just springboards him, and hopefully the Devils, and we'll see what happens with the rest of the year with them. With McKinnon, it's interesting. I do agree with you because he's just a dog and he wants to win, and he wants it to be him who scores to win. So I agree. I think he'll be firing at the net. Question is his health. Like, there was clearly something going on with him. Like, I don't know if it was illness or truly injury related, but I guess we'll see moving forward. But I know he's not playing tonight against Utah. They said he's not on the ice for warm-ups. So, but yeah, I think that the big one is Jack Hughes and the Devils moving forward. But yeah, really happy to have just honestly watched it. Really, it was amazing stuff. Yeah. But we can move on here, and we get into some more of the newsies, which are kind of related to the Olympics. So the big one, Sidney Crosby. They announced today he's out for at least 4 weeks on the IR. That's tough, man. Tough. I'm a Sidney Crosby owner in 2 spots, and I made some trades for him too. Like I will go over it later. I made a trade for him, like specifically for the playoff schedule, the fantasy playoff schedule. But yeah, it's just hard. Like, I literally, you're gonna laugh at me, but I had a nightmare like a month ago before the Olympics that Crosby got injured with his leg. Not I didn't do laterality like his right or left, but I had a nightmare that Crosby like broke his leg in the Olympics and was out for the rest of the season. Now, it wasn't that bad, but I still had it. So I think, for Crosby owners, you just kind of ride it out here. I did see him like honestly like standing and walking around and stuff like that, which is a really good sign. Like we don't know the extent of the injury. It's presumed to be an MCL. Like a low grade sprain, but Crosby's like, he sticks to the routine and he kind of goes through things. So I would expect him to be back, at this 4-week timeline or maybe even sooner by my estimation. I think that for fantasy hockey playoffs, hopefully he gets back in like the second round for most people, like March 23rd, I think. But as of right now, they were running Raquel at center, which I thought was interesting with Avery Hayes and Brian Russ on the top line. And Anthony Mantha took his spot on the top power play. So we'll kind of see how that shakes out. But yeah, it's definitely tough either way you put it for fantasy managers. Yeah. And Mikko Rantanen also to the IR. As soon as I saw that he was expected to miss some time, I sprinted to the waiver wire in a few spots and grabbed Matt Duchene because I was like, well, I'm going to get him on the top power play for the next, little bit here. But that's kind of the advice, obviously, is go out and grab Matt Duchene if he's still available because he will get that spot in the top power play. Tonight, Rupe Hintz was out with an illness, they said. And so the top power play included Jamie Benn as well. And the second line was Duchene, Benn, and Steele. First line being Wyatt Johnson and Jason Robertson. So, kind of take that for what you will. I think Rantanen, again, like we don't know. I don't even know what the injury is. Like the coach said, like at least 2 weeks, but it could be more, but he's not out for the season. So again, just hoping he's back for fantasy hockey playoffs. Robert Thomas is out now with a personal leave. No real details there, but they're hoping that he should be back later this week. We know that he came back from that procedure and was skating and practicing and everything. So hopefully he's back at some point. I mean, it's been a horrible year for the Blues and for Robert Thomas personally. So hopefully this doesn't keep him out much longer. Josh Morrissey.
Evan, just want to jump in here. Robert Thomas just had 2 weeks off. Was that not counted as personal leave? What's the meaning of that? I thought he was going to play.
I think we're getting into territory here where he might start having to pay back some of his salary, But yeah, it's, I don't know. Yeah, you would think must be something, sometimes it's, family related or otherwise. But yeah, hopefully he's back because he's definitely the best player for the Blues. Then we got Josh Morrissey placed on IR. He was kind of like, I don't know if he was like truly day-to-day during the Olympics, but it was like they were getting an update on every game, like whether or not he was going to play, like, oh, maybe he'll be ready next game, and he just never was, which to me means this is relatively serious because, one, you're not playing in the Olympics. Like Crosby almost made it to play in the gold medal game when he's going to be out during the regular season for 4 weeks. So this to me says something's going on with Morrissey. They put him on IR and they said that they'll have him reevaluated, I think, in Winnipeg later this week. So it doesn't mean he's going to return then. And I would expect he's going to miss at least a little time here. And it's kind of concerning because the Jets are like so not in a playoffs position. Like why would you risk like injuring him more? There's no real reason to do that. Unfortunately, Neil Pionk is also out week to week. So they've got Logan Stanley, Brian. Any interest there on top power play?
No, only Dylan DeMello. No chance.
Yeah, that's right. Well, you got to get your third Winnipeg defenseman. So John Carlson's also day-to-day. I think he was injured slightly before the Olympic break as well, but again, they're saying day-to-day, but I'm also slightly concerned about this, hoping that he gets back soon. Mikael Granlund also day-to-day. They had a little bit more optimism on him being back later this week as well. And we got a few little comments here too. How many teeth did he lose, referring to Jack Hughes from Laura Damas? I think he only lost one officially, but he talked about how he may keep the no teeth look because it's iconic now. So hopefully he does, honestly. I think it's a good look for him.
I don't know if Tate McRae would like that. He might have to change that up.
There you go. We got Top Cheddar Fantasy. Don't know who this is. Nikas over Rantanen. That's interesting. I don't hate the take only because I'm a Nikas owner in multiple spots and I love the guy. But I'm sure that Ryan is excited about his bet. I don't know if it would be voided, but the 91 points, I believe it was.
Yeah. For those of you that don't know, he hates the Dallas Stars. So.
For those that don't know. And then we got Richard Habibi in here. Thanks for being with us. Bangers Cats League with face-off wins, PIMs, and plus-minus. Would you rather have Jeek or Nelson for the playoffs week 21 through 23? Nelson has 11 games with Jeek's 9. I'll throw it to you first, Brian. I think I already know my answer, though.
You know what? Wow. Nelson's been so good with Colorado, but I think I prefer Jeek. myself. He's going to get more PIMs as well. I'll take Jeek.
Yeah, it's interesting. I actually would take Brock Nelson. I think that he's been doing so good, and he's a staple on that top power play now. I really like what he has to bring, actually. And the 2 games played is big. Like, if they had the same amount of games, obviously you take Jeek, but I also am like kind of low-key concerned about Jeek's ability to stay healthy. I feel like it's a narrative thing, but he hits so much, and he's kind of puts himself in like that net front and like risky situations. Like, he also looked like he got banged up a little bit in the Olympics in that last game against the US. But yeah, I think it's close either way.
You know what? Also, like, to the point you had earlier, like who might perform better the rest of the season. Like, Brock Nelson had a pretty good Olympics. He was very noticeable every single time he was on the ice. So that could definitely carry. And it seems like, he is going to be a staple on that top power play rest of the season. Like, we know the power play hasn't been great. I don't know why, but that's a whole other discussion. But yeah, I don't hate that take. I could be swayed to go some Brock Nelson.
Yeah, I just like the games played more than anything. We're getting more here. Thanks for the comments, guys. Appreciate it. Darrow7019, Bangers Cats League without face-offs. Leo Carlson and Tippett or Velarde plus Tavares? Ooh, man, that's kind of crazy. You know what? I'm going to take Leo Carlson and Tippett. I just think that Leo Carlson is the best player in this deal. I don't know what's wrong with Tavares, dude. Like, earlier in the year, he was playing at like an all-world pace, and like just, before the Olympics, it was horrible. So I don't know. What do you think, Brian?
Well, I can answer that Tavares question. He plays in the Leafs this year. They suck. That's an easy answer.
That's easy.
Yeah, for me, this is an easy choice. I'd go Leo Carlson and Tippett. I don't think Carlson's going to be like Ryan and I talked about this last week, but I don't think Leo Carlson's going to be as great as he was obviously at the beginning of the season. But obviously, very talented player, and Tippett is an excellent piece to have in a Bangers Cats. He throws the body a lot and he shoots. He's almost like a Brady Tkachuk, very light, and that works.
There you go. All right. Moving on to the second part of Newsies, Brian, you want to get into this?
Yeah. So this is crazy. Like, there's going to be injuries from the Olympics, but it seemed like every 2 minutes I had a different notification of this guy's hurt, this guy's hurt, this guy's hurt. So a lot of players are out right now, whether that is from injuries or illnesses or rest days, especially Vegas. When I come to think of it, like, I looked at that lineup at the beginning of the day versus what it was projected to be for a start tonight, and I'm scratching my head thinking, who are they going to put on the ice? Like, Eichel is missing today. He'll be back Friday. Marner is missing today. Theodore's missing today. Hannafin's missing today. Stone is missing today. Like, that's a lot of talent off that Vegas team. I think I saw Hurdle is going to be the center, line one with Dorofeyev. So who knows? Hurdle and Doro's ice time is probably going to shoot up the roof, but we'll see. And then other news, you also have Rupe Hintz, Tom Wilson, and Zibanejad all are hurt. They're all missing the games here today. So yeah, the injuries are definitely piling up. I know Tom Wilson was a game time decision. And then he got the boot. He's not playing, probably because he didn't have the extra time on ice with McDavid. He lost all his confidence, so he's gone forever now. No, I'm joking. But yeah, Tom Wilson was game time decision. Now he's not playing today.
Yeah, and I mean, I've never been like a Tom Wilson hater. Like, a lot of people obviously hate Tom Wilson for different reasons because he's injured half the league. Thankfully, it hasn't been one of my players, but he almost killed Dylan Larkin. So he's on my shit list now. Like, I do not like Tom Wilson. But man, I'm so glad Dylan Larkin didn't appear to be hurt after that. That was, I mean, it could have easily been stretchered off, I think, after that hit into the boards. So,
he got folded like a lawn chair. Like, I was surprised to see him pop back up. And I'm like, yeah, I guess Larkin's got that dog in him too. All these guys got that dog in them.
Yeah, not to go back to the Olympics, but Larkin, super underrated for that run, man. Like, I think he was truly, like, they had him mixed up a lot of games, and I think he's just a really good leader, honestly. Like, some guys, like, they don't like to be that vocal, but I think he does it, and people respect him because he puts the energy behind it too.
Yeah.
But
not as valuable as Captain America, Austin Matthews, right?
Yeah.
Silence, you know what? Critics.
Again, I will say this, and from watching the Olympics, because I don't watch a ton of Leafs like you guys, but I thought Austin played well. Like, not great in the gold medal game, but like his defensive play, like I know like people will say it's underrated, but I noticed it quite a bit. And he had a ton of like good breakouts and like stick chat hits, like, kind of positioning well. So like I have nothing but love for him, like from a US standpoint.
I thought he was great. And actually, if you go back to the Four Nations, he's the only player with more than 1 point per game in those two finals. So I don't know. Is he clutch? Who's the problem with the Leafs? I don't know.
I think, let me also ask you, Brian, because I forgot about this. So I don't know if you saw it, like in the post interviews, the Hughes brothers were on the podium with Austin Matthews. And in addition to Quinn Hughes just looking at one of their team guys and putting up the one for one more beer when his beer was already full. Love that. But Austin Matthews, like they basically came out and defended him and said, like, he's a winner. Like, he's a gold medalist now. Like, stop, like berating him, like the media and stuff. Like, what were your thoughts on that? Like, in terms of like, the Hughes brother saying that?
Yeah, I mean, my initial thought is, oh, that's great. You guys are sticking up for him. He was great in the playoffs. But then I sat on it and I realized he beat Canada. And then I sat on it longer. And I realized, I mean, look at the past playoffs. Like, he has been a no-show in playoffs. But yeah, who knows what could be great? Like, who knows? The Olympic gold medal could do wonders for people, their confidence, their careers, their projection moving forward. Like, Matthews, that could have been all he needs just to get one win, like really to get over the hump, to really unlock Matthews. Like, we know how talented he is. We know what he's capable of. It just seems like in the past, whether that's just the Toronto media and the fans getting on him, because there's a lot of them, like that's a lot of pressure. But I don't know. I thought I'm happy for the guy, and two, I think I'm actually kind of excited to see what he could do in the playoffs next year, because Leafs aren't making it this year.
Yeah. Do you think, like, I know we've talked about this before, but like as a non-Leafs fan, I've always looked at this because like there's, basically a lot with Mitch Marner too, where there was this that came out, like players don't want to play for the Leafs because they don't want to deal with, the Toronto media, and the Toronto media is ruining the team and creating all this pressure. And from what I've heard from most Leafs fans, they would say like, that's BS. Like, every team has pressure. Like, I mean, where do you lie on that?
Well, I mean, Toronto, there is definitely a lot more media in the Canadian market. And I think to play in Toronto specifically, it takes a certain personality. But Marner just crumbles under pressure. Like, you won't hear me talk nicely about him the way he left. Like, I'm totally on Ryan's side when we come to talk about Marner here. But you look at guys like Nylander, he plays his best games when it comes to the playoffs. Matthews carries a lot of weight, a lot of the team on his back, whether it's defensively, offensively, it all goes through him. So you might not get the right bounces. Playoffs, you have to have a lot of bounces go your way. Just look at the U.S.'s gold medal game they had. No, I'm joking. I'm not going to go there. But yeah, there is pressure, but there's pressure in every Canadian market, especially. And it affects different guys. So it's going to take a certain personality. But I don't think you can. I think that's kind of a cop-out answer to say, oh, the media and the fans make it so hard to play. Like, at the end of the day, it's you on the ice. When you're playing well, you have everyone's support. When you're not playing well, the fans, media hold you accountable. So I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Is it crazy for me to want Austin Matthews just to be a hothead and tell them to F off and that he's going to score 100 goals or something? Like, that's what I want as a fan.
You know what? It's funny because I also want the same, like more of like basketball interviews. Like, like they really speak their mind. Whereas hockey players are typically, oh yeah, get the puck in deep, put it in the corner, forecheck hard. Like, I don't know if you saw the Canadian bobsled team. All of their interviews were all about getting the pucks in deep, fast on the puck. And I'm like, what? So it's kind of funny that that's an ongoing joke. It's all hockey players interview the exact same. So yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing a little personality in there.
There you go. All right, we got Nightbane in here. Is it too crazy to try and trade for Sid if the 4 weeks is accurate? Should be coming in around fantasy playoffs. I got the buy, so gunning for week 23, 24. Yeah, I kind of brought this up to my friend off air too. Like, I don't think it's crazy at all. And I think, if you can get a trade in here, like, do it. Like, I would totally bet that Sidney Crosby comes back before that 4-week prognosis. Like, they want to be healthy for the playoffs because Pittsburgh does have a playoff spot right now, but they're only 5 ahead of Washington. So, like, I don't think they're like guaranteed to hold on to it. And Crosby's somebody that doesn't want to be out a day longer than he has to. I believe in his rehab process. Have you seen pictures of him, of his legs, Brian? Like, there's too much muscle around that leg to, not heal quickly.
Yeah, he'll come back sooner, I think, just because they're in a playoff spot, but it's not a lock of a playoff spot. So I can see him speeding that up a little bit. So I don't hate it, but I definitely wouldn't overpay to trade for Crosby just in case it ends up being longer. But yeah, and we should probably move along. We're already
Yeah.
at 24 minutes. We're still in news.
Well, Brian, there was a lot of news to be had,
Oh
this
yeah.
week. So let's talk about the returns. We talked a lot about the injuries, guys that are coming back. Panarin's going to make his LA debut tonight against a Vegas team without half their team. So that should look good, hopefully. I am ballsy as hell for starting Aiden Hill, by the way. Braden Point also returns and has a goal. He had 2 goals in this game, but one was called back on the power play for an offsides. Leo Carlson is back for the Ducks. Logan Cooley returning quietly for Utah, which should be really good. Brock Besser, Marco Rossi, and Zeev Boyum all back for Vancouver. Chris Letang for the Penguins tomorrow. And then UPL has made his return and looked quite well, actually, here against the Devils, and Marchenko as well. And then they said from the Panther standpoint, Seth Jones is skating, and then Barkov, I don't know if you saw this video of him, dude. He's like firing pucks, like skating really well. I'm like, if he somehow comes back from an ACL like in unprecedented time, like I'm gonna lose it because I didn't pick him up anywhere, and some people did. So
No, I'd be screaming the NHL, test him for drugs. You can't come back that quickly. But I've also seen Barkov on the ice now for like 4 months. So I'm not going to hold my breath with Barkov. But yeah, if he comes back at a crazy time, you bet your bottom I'm sending a message to the NHL. This guy's got to get tested.
Get him tested ASAP.
Yeah.
All right, so now we're going to get into our trade targets, but not ones because obviously the deadline is tonight for the vast majority of leagues. This is our best and worst trade targets of the year that we've determined. So, if you followed along with the show, thank you very much. We appreciate you. These are some of the ones that we thought were our best and worst. So send us in the DMs in the Discord or comment on the video. See if you had some other ones that you saw were better or worse. Because Ryan's not here to defend himself, I will go over his. I don't know if you can call this his best, but Nikita Kucherov was Ryan's best trade target. It was recommended by him in week 4 when he only had 10 points in 8 games played. He was kind of saying, well, you should offer Jack Hughes, Jack Eichel for Kucherov. I think he even said Pasta, which, again, I would still do. Like, it's crazy what Kucherov has done in the remainder of those games. He's vying for the Art Ross right now with McDavid and McKinnon. I think he might get it. Like, he's got a point in this game here already now, too. Like, I don't know. Kucherov is obviously one of the best players in the league, and you could get him at value at that time. That was a really good call by Ryan. Trying to pump his tires up here, Brian.
Well, he's not here to defend himself, so you got to give him a little bit of credit first.
I should have gone with Ryan's worst times 2 instead of Ryan's best. But, moving on, Ryan's worst. Kevin Fiala. Ryan had kind of recommended Kevin Fiala. He was a big Kevin Fiala guy, I remember, preseason as well in drafts. Recommended in week 14, expectations of kind of 75-point pace. But really under Jim Hiller, his offense was very suppressed. And there's kind of an asterisk to this because, unfortunately, he got injured and was out for the season with that leg injury. So now we won't know. We won't know what may have happened once they got Panarin, what the power play would have looked like or the lines. Right now, Panarin's with Lafreniere and Kempe. But yeah, I mean, it's a tough one because of the injury, but Ryan still kind of thought it was one of his worst trade targets. Brian.
Yeah. Well, all of my trade targets were the best. So, no, I'm totally joking. There was definitely a couple. Yeah, boom. This gets all the booms. No, there's definitely a couple misses, but definitely, without a doubt, my best trade target here was Evan Bouchard. Recommended him in week 6. At the time, he was not performing at a point per game pace. He was very subpar. We talk about top 5 defensemen a lot here on the show. For example, like Dahlin's not a top 5. No, I'm joking. He might be getting there. But Evan Bouchard, we always considered him to be kind of a lock in that top 5. And at best, I think by that point, he was top 30. Like he was not performing. And then ever since then, he really has exploded and rebounded. Definitely secured himself as a top 5 D-man for fantasy in the league. You could even argue top 4, maybe top 4, top 3, top 4, top 5, somewhere in there. But he definitely receives a lot of benefit from that Edmonton power play, the exposure to McDavid. And I think this was kind of just a lock. He's just got too much talent surrounding him to perform negatively. And as we all know, some people judge Evan Bouchard on his defensive skills, whereas fantasy, we shouldn't care so much about that because unless you have plus minus. But with Evan Bouchard, he has shot, he shoots a ton, he'll get you a lot of points. So for me, this was a pretty simple a pretty easy pick for me, and turns out to end up being a very, very good, strong recommendation. So good job, Brian.
Good job. Question is, should he have been on Team Canada?
Hindsight, probably. Yeah, probably
over Doughty, maybe.
Over Doughty. Doughty didn't look great. Yeah, we don't need to hash that out. We have the World Cup to plan for next.
I think we should schedule a separate podcast for when Ryan's back it's specifically just Olympic argument, and we can just go back and forth.
Oh yeah, it'll be a 2-on-1 though, so you'll be in trouble.
And I'm willing to do that.
Okay,
only because we won.
Yeah. Your argument for every single one of our points is but who got gold? Who got
scoreboard?
Gold? Yeah, score check. Yeah. Moving on to my worst trade target. Very unfortunate, very sad to say this, but it was Nazem Kadri. In previous years, to me, he's always a deep round pick or a late round pick that you can get up who returns a lot of value because of his shot volume. He does a lot for you. But this year, it just hasn't been working for Kadri. I remember before the Olympic break, looking at his stats, and I'm seeing a whole lot of zeros, which I didn't like. I recommended Nazem Kadri in week 14 because the first 13 weeks were not great. And I really saw Kadri as, hey, this is a guy where the offense should be running through. He should be getting a lot more points. And it just hasn't happened. Now the rumors of him getting traded, I can't see his value going. I mean, it can't really go down, so it can go up a little bit, but it won't be anywhere as to what it was even last year. We put up around 70 plus points, shooting a ton, and he's just not doing that this year. So basically, if he does get traded, it could end up being about the same, could be worse. I doubt, maybe slightly better. But all in all, this is kind of a write-off season for Nazem Kadri. It just hasn't worked out so far. And unfortunately, I don't see a light at the end of the tunnel for Nazem Kadri.
Yeah, no, it's been tough. And a lot of people, he's kind of a fantasy darling. So like you said, he shoots, he's underrated in terms of draft position. So yeah, just tough looks for him. So I would say my best trade target came in week 6 when I recommended Mika Zibanejad. At that time, he was well under a point per game. The Rangers obviously started very poorly and continue to do so the whole season, except that Mika Zibanejad has had one of his best seasons in recent years. Now, the question remains, how productive will he be without Panarin? But he's still going to be top line, top power play. And the biggest thing here is they still have the Rangers playoff schedule. Yeah. So he, in my mind, he's not going to be traded, I don't think, with his contract. But he's been really good this year. In a lot of formats, he's right wing eligible as well, center right wing. So, I think he's done quite well for himself, 52 points in 56 games. And I wouldn't be shocked if he kind of gets to the 75 point pace rest of season. So got to give myself credit there. Worst one,
Evan, let me ask you this. If you go back to Zibanejad, you have until the end of the night tonight to make a trade. Would you go out and acquire Zibanejad now, or are you looking to trade him because of Panarin leaving and who knows what the future or the rest of the season will look like in the Rangers? What are you doing?
I would absolutely trade for Zibanejad. I think you could make an argument to a fantasy manager. Look, Panarin's gone. The Rangers are terrible. I don't think he's going to continue doing what he's doing and maybe get him at a little bit cheaper price. But he is very clearly my top trade target from the Rangers. If I had to pull one more, I would take him over JT Miller. In a few leagues, I had people reaching out about Vinny Tro, and I like Vinny Tro, but I don't know that he's going to be a Ranger rest of season. So I don't want to take that risk of trading for him, and then he does get traded to the Hurricanes or Minnesota or something, and they don't have a great playoff schedule. So yeah, I really like Zibanejad as a final day trade target for sure.
You heard it here, folks. Get that Zibanejad trade now. Clock's ticking.
My worst, and this is a tough one for me to admit because I've talked about him many times on the podcast, and I actually, looking back, I recommended him as a trade target in 2 separate weeks, Brian. Wow. Week 4 and week 12. Had him in a couple spots, drafted him way too high in a couple spots as well. Luke Hughes we're talking about here. It wasn't his year, guys. Maybe I'm a year early. It's kind of strange because even when he has been healthy and when he did have the opportunity on PP1, he really hasn't taken hold of it. Watching a lot of Devils games, he was pretty decent defensively for a lot of the season. I think that's a better part of his game that he expanded on, but he's just been snake bitten, terrible shooting percentage. Combo that with the fact that the Devils as a team have been terrible. Look at Jesper Bratt, Jack Hughes. They were without Jack Hughes for half the season. So you combo the Devils not playing well, him not playing well individually. And now you get Simone Nemec out of nowhere putting up hat tricks, and then he took power play time. So then you had a three-headed monster with Dougie, Nemec, and Luke Hughes when they're all trying to split the power play. It's been a mess. So I think next year it'll be interesting because he is going to be nowhere to be found in drafts because I guess it depends. If Dougie Hamilton gets traded, I can see him kind of going into the 8 to 10 spot maybe in some drafts if people still want to be high on him. But this year, this was easily my worst trade target, Brian.
Yeah. See, it's tough though because Luke Hughes, he has a lot of talent. Look at his siblings for a point of reference. It's just tough because you don't want to be out on Luke Hughes when he does have that blow up. You want to look like a genius and pick him up on the year he does break out. But I remember saying it when we were doing the mock drafts beginning of the year. I do recall this. Like I was saying, you guys were talking about how great Luke Hughes is, and for me, it was very tough just because you have Dougie Hamilton there. So there isn't a clear best top offensive option in New Jersey. And to me, that just makes it really challenging. But you can't hate on the idea of Luke Hughes because the talent's there. He has to pop off sometime, but just wasn't this year.
Yeah. No, it's tough. And I really did not have it on my bingo card that Luke Hughes would miss more games due to injury than Dougie Hamilton this year. I did not have that. So, when Dougie Hamilton first went down for injury, I was crowning myself king saying, I knew this was going to happen, but look what happened. So you can't be right on every take. And I've kind of learned that, and, it's been tough, but definitely my worst one. All right, these are our final trade grades. We didn't have many trades submitted, albeit 2 here. People are kind of, getting their last second trades done today maybe, but moving forward, we're going to try some other stuff here. But we'll kind of be announcing that at a later time. If you guys have ideas for segments you guys want us to do, maybe some team reviews or comments, get some live listeners in here, let us know. Send us your comments, send us DMs, and we'll get back to you. Trade number 1 we had here. This is submitted by DeRush. ESPN head-to-head Cats League with goals, assists, plus minus, PIMs, face-off win, shots on goal, hits, blocks, defensive points, shorthanded points. Giving away Dylan Cousins and receiving Adam Fantilli. Brian.
Yeah, so for me, I'm giving this a C minus, just because giving away Dylan Cousins for me is really hard to do. I did do that in a couple spots, but he's having such a great year. Especially in a Cats league, he carries so much value because of the hits, because of the shot volume, and he seems to be doing most of his production on the power play. So that's covering half of the categories right off the hop. And Adam Fantilli, we all thought, okay, this is really going to be the year that he really takes a step forward, and it hasn't been to the standard that I was kind of hoping for with Adam Fantilli either, whereas Dylan Cousins seems to be fitting in like a glove in Ottawa. So for me, I'm giving this a C minus. I'm just pretty high on Dylan Cousins this year.
Absolutely. I went C. All the same reasons as you. Cats League, Dylan Cousins, he's going to get those hits. Maybe this manager already had hits covered, so he's kind of looking more at points, but Dylan Cousins has more points than Fantilli. So in rest of season, I think Fantilli is the better individual player. The question is he going to kind of take that step the rest of the season here, the last 30 games or so? And it's really been power play too. He's only got 8 power play points on the year. So if Fantilli can get going there, I think this would be a little bit more even, but as of right now, I definitely wouldn't have made that trade.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I could see that this going the other way in next year, I've seen, but we're focused on this year. Next trade here, it's a points league. This is actually from, we call ourselves Expert League. This is the Keeper League. You keep 3. You're going to be giving away Sam Bennett, Kadri Snuggerud. You're going to be also giving away your 4th round, 5th round, and 9th round pick, receiving Cutter Gauthier, Dylan Guenther, and Svechnikov, as well as the 14th, 16th, and 18th round pick. This was actually submitted by Ryan.
Now, who could have made such a trade like this? I would almost call it collusion, considering the other manager that made this trade might also be on this podcast. But I give this trade a B+. So Ryan made this trade to acquire Dylan Guenther, Svech, and Cutter Gauthier. He's given up a bunch of picks to do it. He's kind of going for, he needs wingers, so this makes sense for him. I think he maybe could have gotten a little bit more, but not by much. I think that, getting Svetch and Cutter Gauthier, number 1, number 2, I really like. He already has Jarvis on that team, but I don't know what I think about Dylan Gunther right now. I also like Dylan Gunther. To me, like, he's kind of being buried in the lineup a little bit, and his numbers haven't been great as of late. I think individually he's a really good player. He's going to score goals, which are worth the most. So that's really good. But yeah, I mean, overall, he's getting a haul here for those picks, and he's going for the win. Although I don't know if he's going to get it against me, Brian.
Yeah, so I'm giving this an A+, only because only because the other manager that Ryan traded with is me. But a little bit of background here. I should be talking about this trade. I took over this team pretty recently, and where my team is positioned is no chance of finishing in the top 3. Might not even make playoffs. So for me, I'm looking at this more like future proofing, because I'm looking at who my keepers are, and none of those guys are going to be my keepers. So if I can make an upgrade on the current roster that I do have for next year, set myself up for future success, that makes a lot of sense to me. On the other side, I know Ryan is in a win now mode. He's going up against Evan, who's right there at the top of the standings. So he's trying to hunt him down. So I think it makes a lot of sense for both teams. No one's really losing on this trade here, and it really does help Ryan in the win now mode to try to hunt down Evan. So for me, I'm giving this an A+. Let's get the boom.
There you go. And speak of the devil, we got Top Trader Fantasy in here. Get Brock Nelson and Lindell in a 10th in a keeper league. F- question mark. No, I really like that. I think Anton Lundell is locked in, not in the power play, but top line. And then Brock Nelson, as we've talked about, for a 10th, like, I think that's pretty good.
Yeah, I'd have to agree.
All right. Moving on. So not only we only got those 2 trades that came in, not a ton of others. So this is going over Brian, Ryan, and mine's kind of, I guess, I don't know if we call them the top trades, but trades to go over and give ourselves grades on the year. Mm-hmm. So Brian, why don't you get into your trade here?
Yeah, for sure. So in one of my leagues, the Standards Cats leagues, I think this trade would have been made around week 6 or so. So conveniently, I think it's right around the time where you were suggesting targeting Luke Hughes. And I gave away Dylan Cousins and Luke Hughes to acquire Sebastian Aho, and then later flipped Sebastian Aho for Dylan Gunther. But the way I was seeing it in a cast league, I was pretty set on hits. I needed someone with a better playoff schedule. So that's why I was looking at Sebastian Aho. So myself, I'm giving this a B+. And the reason being, at the time, I think there was still a lot of upside for Luke Hughes. The other manager I traded with was very, very high in Luke Hughes. So I was pretty set on defense. And not to mention, I still to this day, Dylan Cousins is ranked higher than Sebastian Aho in our league. So it's almost like I gave up a player who was the better player, and I threw in a little something extra. So to me, I almost kind of fleeced myself, but I think it's working out for both teams here. Like I said, I flipped to Aho then for Gunther to kind of maximize the off night schedules for the regular season. So I'm giving this a B+.
I think I went based on the actual trade of just getting Aho, and I still would have done Cousins and Luke Hughes for Aho. I think Aho individually talent-wise is the best. And you flip Aho for Gunther, who, again, like, still going to score a ton of goals. So I don't really dislike it. I do like Dylan Cousins, and I think it just kind of – it depends on how he finishes too, because I could very well see it. Like, it's possible that Dylan Cousins falls off a little bit and Gunther picks it up than the reverse. So, I think you have better odds going that way.
Yeah, see, I will add, like, one of the other reasons why I was big on getting rid of Dylan Cousins, because I didn't think he was going to be a lock on the power play the rest of the season. And then, like I said, the manager I was trading with had Cousins for the past 3 years, so he likes Cousins. He loves Luke Hughes, so it made sense. But, yeah, I did not expect Dylan Cousins to still be outperforming Sebastian Aho for one. So I think you kind of have to take a chance with these trades, and sometimes they work out, sometimes they don't.
And that's the truth of it. And Ryan clarified for his trade, he's giving up Lindell. He's my drop. So instead here, he's getting Brock Nelson for Anton Lindell in a 10th. So yeah, I would still do that. I would still get Brock Nelson. Like, you give up Anton Lindell in a 10th, I would still do that.
Yeah.
Brock Nelson right now, I don't know if you know, Nate McKinnon's out this game. Brock Nelson is top line with Nekus and Landeskog. So
Ooh.
he's next man up. And then this was Ryan's trade on the year. He didn't say it. I think it's points league or APL, but he gave away Nichushkin and Verhage, and he got Malkin. Brian, what do you think of that trade?
Yeah, I'd give it a B plus. I think at the time when Ryan made that trade, he was really hoping that Malkin was maybe not going to continue the point pace, but still be really productive. And you're giving away Val Nichushkin and Carter Verhage, who have not had a season, worth remembering. Like it's so for me, I'm making the trade. I think I'm still doing that exact trade, but I think there was a risk at the time making the trade. But again, that's why you make the trades, because you're hoping that you fall on the right side of it. And I think Ryan definitely fell on the right side, got the better player who's performing this year. And not to mention, which I always love, is freeing up a roster spot just to pick up a streamer. So to me, you'll get a boom, Ryan.
Gets a boom there. I'll give him a boom as well. I give this an A. I really like Malkin, especially now leading into the playoffs. We've seen what Malkin can do when Crosby's not in the lineup. So if Malkin stays healthy, I think this is a smash of a trade. Nichushkin has not worked out this year for draft managers, as Landeskog came back, and then they've been trialing multiple other people ahead of him on top line and top power play. And Verhage's just been very mid. He had that like 1 or 2 week stretch where he was really hot. And outside of that, he's been pretty much non-existent for fantasy, unfortunately. Let's get into a little bit more comments here. Next Move 79 got a couple trade offers in keeper all cats, no pims or plus minus, giving Yossi and getting Shesterkin and Pareko. Goalies I have already: Helly, Wedgwood, Olmark. Can only carry 3 goalies. Pettersson and Forsberg for Seneca and Rasmus Anderson. So we'll go over the first one. Giving Yossi and getting Shesterkin and Pareko. Man, I wouldn't do that.
I'm not doing it. I'm not doing that.
When you already have Hellebuck, Wedgwood, and Olmark, I feel like those 3 are really good goalies anyways in the Cats League, especially like Wedgwood and Hellebuck. Like I think Hellebuck gets better rest of the season now, but Yossi's been doing too good, and he's just too good of a defenseman, I think. Brian.
Yeah, no, I agree. You're set on goalies. Shesterkin isn't a real like a massive upgrade really with your current goalies in a Cats League, and then you're giving away a power play 1 quarterback who has been performing pretty well recently. I'm not making that trade. I'll hold on to Yossi myself.
Yeah, and then he said Pettersson and Forsberg for Seneca and Rasmus Anderson. No, I wouldn't do that one either. Like I would keep Pettersson and Forsberg, correct?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Like we've talked about this before, but like Pettersson, even if the points aren't there, he gives you a lot of value in a Cats League because he blocks a lot. He'll shoot. He has some hits, right? But like the blocks for a forward is insanely valuable. And then Forsberg has been picking up as of late. And I know for the most part, I know Ryan, Evan, not so big on Forsberg. I mean, I'm disappointed because I have him in a couple spots, but there is a chance, that he does continue to produce. And I think now Pettersson, Forsberg is better than the Seneca Anderson stack. Anderson's will be getting buried a little bit on that Vegas D line. They're pretty stacked at defense, and Seneca still a rookie. So for me, I'm holding on to Forsberg and Pettersson.
There you go. We got Breadman, trade Panarin for Rantanen. Breadman, no. I don't know that I would do that. Like, I just don't like. Obviously, if Rantanen's healthy, you do it. But like, I am very uncertain about Rantanen's health moving forward. Like, it sounded like this could be much longer than a few weeks, and I would be scared that would affect your fantasy playoff schedule for me potentially. And like, I still think Panarin's still going to be good, and we'll see, I guess. But I'm still expecting kind of point per game pace for Panarin rest of the season. Like Dallas has a better playoff schedule, but just with the uncertainty, I wouldn't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I see that similarly. Rantanen, anytime there's an injury, you always worried about injuries lingering. Look no further than Austin Matthews last year. And into this year, I feel like nursing some injuries and just hasn't been himself. So for me, I'm holding on to Breadman. I think I'd be a little curious to see what that offense is going to look like in LA. Like he's playing with Adrian Kempe, who can put the puck in the net. We know that. So I think I'll hold on to Panarin.
All right. And then we got Fantasy Hockey Bro. Jeek for JT Miller. See, this is a trade I really like.
Mhm,
I depending on the format, I still would do this though, I think. And
mhm,
I Jeek is really good. And since Quinn Hughes has been kind of in Minnesota, their entire offense has had a boom. But like I think JT Miller, if you can like look at your fantasy hockey playoff schedule, JT Miller is going to fit in on all these off nights. Like that could be like one of the best acquisitions for your fantasy hockey playoffs out of anyone really. And I think Jeek is a good price to pay for that, honestly. Brian?
mhm. Yeah, Minnesota, they don't have a very good playoff schedule. We know that. The Rangers have a really good playoff schedule. So I think for this instance, like games advantage is what you're looking for. JT Miller hasn't had a great year, but I think having more games of JT Miller will either equate to Jeek or outperform Jeek. And not to mention, Evan, as you kind of already talked about, Jeek's health. Like he's tends to miss games. Yeah, I'd make that trade.
Yeah. Art Hots 104. Thoughts on trading Panarin for Fox? That's a tough one. I would consider it because I do really like Adam Fox. My only problem with Fox is that like this is kind of an oxymoron of a trade because with them losing Panarin, I think that power play and Fox's production takes a little bit of a dip as well. I think Panarin was a big part of that power play, and so I think it negatively affects Fox moving forward. And just with the injuries Fox has dealt with this year, again, I am concerned about his availability rest of season. So yeah, this one's a push for me. If you really need a defenseman, I think you could do it, but I wouldn't do it just to get Fox. Brian?
Yeah, I would not be making that trade. I think there is a lot more talent, a lot more value for Panarin to have on your team. I think the only way I'd consider this is if your defense is severely lacking and your offense is already stacked. Then you can even it out a little bit. But my initial thought is no, I'd hold on to Panarin.
Yeah. It's weird without Ryan here. We're agreeing on everything. I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but so we'll get into my trade, my trade grade here. This was kind of the biggest trade that I made in one of my leagues. I made quite a bit of trades in one league. Brian, I had a total of 9 trades in a single league. I think total across all of my leagues, I had like 15 trades. So we're gonna strive for that number next year, Brian. So we're gonna hit a certain amount.
Now, Evan, I need to know what on earth is your strategy during draft season because my God, I made so many trades.
It's weird, man. Some of them were little trades, like I traded Jet Greaves for Nick Ehlers in a spot, like 1-for-1. Like I had too many goalies, things like that. Like they weren't all massive banger trades, but just kind of piece by piece, Brian. Getting the team better.
Okay.
We'll see. So my trade was a 12-team points league, APL style, but faceoffs are worth 0.1 and D-men get an extra point. I gave away Wyatt Johnston, Robert Thomas, Sergachev, and Bertuzzi, and I got back Crosby, Chychrun, Patty Kane, and Beckett Seneca. So giving myself a grade here, I'd say it's a B+. I made this trade, obviously, before Robert Thomas and Crosby were injured. Crosby being injured really puts this into a spin, but I think if Crosby is back for the playoffs for me, I have the buy. I'm guaranteed a buy in this. So if he's back for that second round, and especially the final when he's going to have 5 games, that's really what I wanted him for. I think Chich over Sergachev is an upgrade. And if I play in the finals in that league, Sergachev will only have 2 games there, whereas Chich will have 4. And some of the other ones like Rob Tom for like Patty Kane and, Seneca, I thought I'd just kind of upgrade on wing a little bit and giving up Rob Tom. I had no faith that Rob Tom was going to kind of magically turn it around with the Blues. And I already had good center depth. So that was kind of my thought process there, Brian.
Now, when did you make this trade? Do you remember?
Oh boy. I don't have it in front of me, but it was probably like a month before the Olympics, I want to say.
Okay. So, I mean, on the screen here, I gave it a B, but I think the more I'm staring at this trade, I actually like it a lot more. So maybe I'll bump this up to an A- just so that we don't have the same
boom?
trade. Yeah, so you're going to get a boom. No, I like this. I think Chychrun, for me, is a much better defenseman than Sergachev. Those goals carry a ton of weight. Defense getting extra points, but I like Chychrun over Sergachev. Crosby, if he comes back healthy, ready to go, like we know how good the Pittsburgh power play can be. Crosby's a big reason for that. And then Seneca, I would take over Bertuzzi any day. I know Bertuzzi's been really good this year, but I just love Seneca this year. And then we've talked about this, but Robert Thomas, the St. Louis Blues, they just don't have it this year. And I'm seeing Patty Kane back on power play one again. I honestly think that the best is still yet to come for Patty Kane, which is crazy because we're nearing the end of the season, but I still have faith in Patty Kane. I remember he did this last year towards actually into the playoffs. He was very productive. So fingers crossed that's the same this year. But I think Patty Kane just has so much value in himself that goes under the radar. So I like this trade. I'd make this trade.
All right. Love to hear that. So a little segment here, normally we do fantasy hockey court, but Ryan isn't here for me to talk about Darlene till day's end. So, we will do our fantasy hockey wish list. So this is kind of just some things that Brian and I came up with, what do we want rest of season? We write it down, get the genie in a bottle here. What do we want to happen rest of season? Just in general, a few different things. I'll start here. My wish list is for the top players for Colorado to remain healthy for fantasy playoffs and to finally get their power play figured out. I think we talked about it, Brian. Nathan McKinnon missed that empty net goal in the Olympics. He's coming back. He missed this game as maintenance, they were calling it. But I think the Colorado Avalanche, they had a little bit of dip before the Olympics. I think they come back with a vengeance here and reestablish themselves as a top team going into the playoffs. I know Nathan McKinnon's a leader. He's a dog. He's going to get it done. So I think they're going to figure out this power play, and I can figure it out for them. Jared Bednar, if you're listening, put Val Nichushkin as the fifth member of the top power play. Like, stop mucking around with Arturi Lehkonen, Victor Olofsson, Gabe Landeskog. Get Nichushkin out net front where he belongs, and you'll score 1 billion power play goals. There.
Yeah.
You're welcome. And then final part of my wish list is that Panarin fits in nicely on LA and is still at minimum a point per game player, which I do believe is going to be the case. I'd hope for a little bit more. I think this line with Lafreniere and Kempe is going to be pretty good. I just really hope that Jim Hiller kind of lets them loose. I hope he's not asking Panarin to back check here, because it's not what he does. He scores goals, he gets points. So just let the man do his thing. That's what they brought him in for. Get LA a playoff spot. I have Panarin in every single one of my fantasy leagues. I thought it was going to be a big bounce back for the Rangers. I drafted a lot of Rangers, and I drafted all of Panarin. So I'm really hoping for Panarin to kind of finish the season in a good spot. And Brian?
Yeah, I have a pretty lengthy wish list here, but first and foremost, I got Forsberg in a couple of spots, and I know he's really faced criticism. He's been found guilty in hockey court. Like, he has been dragged through the mud. So my wish list, my number one wish list here, and I'm glad that the genie didn't limit us to only 3 wishes, by the way. But I'm really wishing that Forsberg performs like the way he can. In years past, he has been just above a point per game player. My only hope, I wish I got to pray to the fantasy gods that he can keep up the production. I know Nashville has been scoring recently, and I just want to see Forsberg in on a lot more of it. The power play, I want him to have a little more success there. I think it's possible. I think we can see it happen. And as a Leafs fan, it pains me to say, but I really hope the Bruins top guys can keep clicking. They've had a pretty good season. McAvoy, I think, has been a surprise from his fantasy standpoint. Lindholm has been fitting in like a glove with Pasternak, and not to mention they have a great playoff schedule. So for those of you that own Bruins players, like I'm sure you're all with me on this. We just hope that they continue to perform. I think it's possible. They've been doing it all year, so let's see it continue all the way through the playoffs. Another wish I have here on a multitude of levels is Austin Matthews uses this Olympic win to really play to his standard. We know what he's capable of, almost a 70-goal scorer, so much talent, and I really hope that getting that Olympic gold medal, it really kind of pushes his confidence up over the ledge, and he kind of explodes when he comes back and plays with the Leafs. I think it's possible. He's got all the right tools. He's got the motivation. He was the captain of Team USA. Now he's the captain of the Leafs, so I think it just fits. Matthews, upcoming 70-goal season next year. Book it.
Book it. Wow, that's a big prediction. He will fall on draft, so it'll be interesting. I like this wish list. As a Morgan Geeky supporter, I can get on board with the Boston thing, Brian. So
yeah, we know how much you like Morgan Geeky.
Well, that's gonna do it for this episode. Make sure you guys get into the Discord, like, rate, review, subscribe. Send us your comments. What do you guys want to see for segments? Join us in for comments. We'll go over some of your waiver wire questions, lines, everything else. Thanks for kind of being with us all year here as well. Submitting your trades is awesome. Thanks to Nate and Blake for letting us do this. We hope to have Ryan back soon. And Brian, you want to take us away here?
Yeah, absolutely. That's all we got for this episode. Hopefully it brought you some value and helped you get just a little bit better at fantasy hockey today. Many thanks to Matt Creamer for supplying the music for the podcast. Thanks for listening. We appreciate your time, and we'll catch you next time.